The great hall of the Galactic Council was always full of sound. Machines hummed in the tall silver walls. Delegates whispered to each other in many languages. And floating lights drifted around the room like small suns. In the center of the hall stood a circle of glowing platforms where the speakers presented their statements. None of this felt strange to the young human girl standing at the edge of the room. Leora Hale had dreamed of this place since she was a child. She was only 19, but she had worked harder than most full ambassadors. Her teacher said she had a gift for bringing people together. She had helped solve arguments in training simulations that most diplomats failed. Earth had chosen her to join the team, not because she was powerful, but because she understood kindness better than anyone. Leora wore a simple white uniform with a single blue stripe, the color for junior diplomatic members. Her badge carried the symbol of Earth's Peace Division, a silver circle with a starburst in the center. The badge felt heavy on her chest, but she kept her back straight. Her brown hair was tied behind her head, her eyes sharp and focused. She was ready. Her mentor, Ambassador Rivenhart, stood beside her. He was tall, calm, and experienced, a man who had seen many things across the galaxy. He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Remember, your job is not to win. Your job is to speak the truth." His voice was low, steady, like someone who had delivered these words many times. Leora nodded. "I know, I can do this." "You can," Hart said softly. "And today, the galaxy will know it too." The council assembly began. A deep sound echoed across the hall as the central lights brightened. The floating platforms aligned in a perfect ring. 52 species sat in their sections, each separated by transparent energy barriers that prevented physical interference. In the highest seats, glowing in pale gold, sat the ruling faction, the Veil Dominion. The Veil were tall, thin, and smooth-skinned, with long dark robes that hid most of their limbs. Their eyes were pale yellow, sharp, and cold. They had ruled the council for more than 90 years, and they liked reminding every species of that fact. Whenever they moved, their robes left faint trails of light, as if the air itself bowed to them. Their leader, High Chancellor Vaylor, stepped forward. His voice echoed with artificial enhancement. "We begin today's session on the topic of planetary resource regulation. Any statements?" Ambassador Hart spoke first. "Earth submits a report that may impact this discussion." Vaylor's gaze shifted lazily. "Earth may speak." Hart gestured to Leora. "My junior representative will deliver the information." A few murmurs rose from different sections. A human child? Speaking in the council hall? Even the council's automated note-takers paused for a fraction of a second. But Leora walked forward confidently. She stepped onto the speaking platform, and it lifted her gently into the air. She looked around at the massive hall, at the rows of strange faces, at the lights shining down like stars. She felt her heartbeat quicken, but she took a slow breath. Then began. "Members of the council," she said clearly. "Earth has discovered evidence that the Veil Dominion has been hiding the truth about resource shortages." The room fell silent. Even the hum of the machines felt quieter. Leora continued, her voice steady. "The Dominion claimed that certain planets needed strict control because they were unstable. But Earth found proof that these worlds were not unstable. They were being intentionally restricted. These actions caused scarcity, fear, and loss for many species." She pressed a button on her wrist device, and holograms appeared around her. Images of documents, energy flow charts, hidden communication logs, and maps of trade routes all glowed in the air. Leora raised her hand toward them. These files were encoded with Dominion signatures. They match patterns used only by Dominion command sectors. Loud hiss came from the Veil seats. Chancellor Valer stepped forward sharply. "This is a lie." "It is not," Leora replied. "The codes are authentic, and Earth is willing to share the raw data with every species here so they can confirm." The hall erupted with noise. Delegates shouted in their languages. Lights dimmed and brightened. The council's translation system struggled to process the storm of voices. Liora stayed calm. She had expected this. She had practiced her speech 100 times. High Chancellor Valar raised both arms, and the hall went quiet again. His voice, even without shouting, cut through the air. "Human girl," he said slowly, "you speak of things you do not understand. You accuse us without permission. You insult the council." "I speak only the truth," Leora said, "and the truth should not need permission." The Chancellor's eyes flashed. "You will retract your statement." "I will not." "You will apologize." "I cannot." "You will remove Earth's accusation and let more worlds suffer." Leora asked. "No, I won't do that." A dangerous silence followed. It was not the silence of confusion or surprise. It was the silence of something heavy, cold, and final. Valor looked toward two Dominion guards standing near the main control pillar. They were tall, armored figures with smooth white plating and glowing blue visors. They moved without speaking, their steps light and precise. Ambassador Hart stepped forward immediately. "Chancellor, what are your guards doing?" "She has the right to speak. She is under council protection." Valor smiled faintly. "The council does not protect liars." "She is a child," Hart said sharply. "She is a threat," Valor replied. One guard approached the main console. The other walked toward the platform, their hand raised toward the device that controlled the platform's stability field. Leora felt a strange tension in her chest. Something was wrong. Something felt dangerous. She tried to step back, but the platform locked her in place. "Stop this," Hart demanded. "This is illegal." "Illegal?" Valor asked softly. "Everything we do defines the law." Before Hart could reach the platform, the Dominion guard touched the control node. Sharp crack of energy burst through the hall. The platform under Leora flickered violently. For a moment, everything slowed. The light around her dimmed. Her holograms blinked out. Her wrist device shut down. Something was failing inside the float field generator. She felt the floor disappear under her feet. Her eyes widened in shock. She reached out as if grabbing for a hand that wasn't there. Ambassador Hart shouted her name. Several delegates stood up, but the field collapsed faster than anyone could move. Leora fell. She hit the polished floor far below. The sound echoed once sharply, then faded. The hall froze. Hart rushed toward her, dropping to his knees beside her. He lifted her gently, calling her name again and again. His voice broke. His hands shook, but she did not move. Her eyes remained slightly open, staring at nothing. The hall's medical sensors flashed red, but they already knew the truth. A fall from a powered platform was instantly fatal. The council systems declared it an energy malfunction. The Dominion guards stepped back calmly, as if nothing had happened. Chancellor Valor turned away. "This session is postponed." Ambassador Hart looked up at him with horror and fury. "You killed her?" Valor didn't even pause. "A malfunction killed her. You ordered your guard to tamper with the system?" "Prove it," Valor said coldly. "Your girl attempted sabotage. She destabilized the platform herself." "That is a lie." Hart's voice trembled. "Every recording device here captured what happened." "Every recording device is managed by council systems," Valor replied. "And council systems have already logged the event as accidental." The hall's lights turned blue, signaling the end of the session. Delegates left quickly, whispering, avoiding Hart's eyes. No one dared challenge the Dominion. Hart stayed on the floor, holding Leora's still form. He whispered her name again, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." He felt another presence beside him. One of Earth's security officers knelt, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Sir, we have to take her home." Hart did not speak for a long moment. Then he nodded once, slowly. He lifted Leora carefully, wrapping her uniform so her body would not be exposed to the cold metal floor. His hands were gentle, trembling with grief. They carried her out of the hall. Every step felt heavier than the last. Earth's small diplomatic team gathered in silence around them, their faces pale. None of them spoke. None of them needed to. They all understood what had happened as they walked through the long corridors of the council station. News drones floated near the ceiling, but Earth's officers pushed them away. They would not allow the galaxy to film the girl whose life had been taken by corruption. When they entered their transport ship, Hart placed Leora on a medical bed and closed the cover. The soft light inside made her face look peaceful, as if she were only sleeping. Hart touched the glass with his fingertips. "Earth must know," he whispered. One of his officers nodded. "We will send the report immediately." The officer connected to the secure human channel. No one spoke aloud. They didn't need to. The moment Earth received the message, every human leader, scientist, strategist, and citizen felt the weight of it. A young human girl had been killed. In the Galactic Council Hall, the Dominion had silenced her truth, and they believed. Earth would kneel and accept it, but Earth did not reply with anger. Earth replied with silence. "Ambassador." Hart closed his eyes as the ship prepared to leave the station. He felt grief, but something else too, something deep, cold, and unshakable. He knew Earth's silence was not weakness. It was the beginning of something, the Galax. Why could not imagine? The ship took off, carrying Leora home, and with her, it carried the spark that would set the stars on fire. The moment Earth received the report of Leora Hale's death, the entire planet seemed to stop breathing. The transmission from Ambassador Hart arrived at midnight in most human cities, but no one slept after seeing it. The message contained the full story, every detail of the council session, every second of the recording, even the parts the Dominion tried to erase. When the footage ended, every human who watched it felt the same emotion. It was not anger, not shock, not even grief. It was something deeper, something colder, something that reached down into the bones. Earth did not shout. Earth did not demand justice. Earth simply went silent. Inside the human strategic core, the center of Earth's command system, large circular screens displayed a single message across every department. Protocol Horizon activation confirmed. All staff must follow Phase 1 procedures. No exceptions. Generals, scientists, diplomats, engineers, analysts, and cultural officers all received the same simple order: cut contact. Within minutes, Earth shut down every open communication channel to the Galactic Council. Every embassy across the galaxy locked its doors. Every human diplomat was ordered to return home immediately. Human trade ships turned around mid-flight. Human corporations closed their foreign offices. Human AI networks disconnected from galactic grids to the outside world. Earth's sudden silence felt like a dark cloud sweeping across space. On thousands of planets, people panicked. Without human engineers to maintain them, entire systems began failing. Mining stations lost power. Shipyards couldn't operate their equipment. Medical facilities faced glitches in their nanotech programs. Transportation networks stopped syncing. Many species did not even realize how deeply their daily life depended on human-created tools until they suddenly disappeared. The Council tried sending messages to Earth, but the signals bounced back unread. They tried contacting human ambassadors, but all diplomatic channels were locked behind heavy encryption. High Chancellor Valere held an emergency meeting. The room was tense. Many representatives looked shaken. Some had already heard rumors that Earth's technology shutdown had caused significant problems on their planets. Valere stood before them, calm but visibly irritated. Earth is behaving like a child who refuses to speak. They will return once they understand their place. An elder representative from the Andorian clans raised her hand slowly. Her species had been with the Council for centuries. "Chancellor, this is not normal human behavior," Valere scoffed. "You worry too, Isily, Elder." "I have seen humans for 100 years, the Elder said firmly. "They are emotional, but never careless. When humans retreat, it means they are preparing something." Murmur spread across the hall. Valere dismissed her words with a wave. "They are mourning their girl. Let them cry. We will continue ruling the galaxy." But the Dominion soon discovered that Earth's silence was more dangerous than any war. In a small outpost near the rim, a Veil officer attempted to activate his ship. The control panel flashed an error. Warp stabilizer key not found. He tried again. And again. Every attempt failed. Ship after ship in their fleet reported the same issue. The stabilizer technology, invented by humans a century earlier, had a built-in safety system. If Earth withdrew its approval, the stabilizers went offline to prevent misuse during war. The Dominion fleet was suddenly unable to travel. Long distances, the news spread quickly, in the markets of Zathar Prime. Merchants panicked as human-based trade algorithms froze. Currency values flipped unpredictably. Items that were common one day became impossible to find the next. People stood in long lines, confused, frightened, trying to understand what had happened in the medical stations of the Taurian Belt. Doctors lost access to human-coded surgical software. Critical procedures had to be delayed. Patients waited on beds, machines blinking red around them. In education centers on Veras 9, Learning A has failed. Entire schools shut down. Galactic life was built on human foundations. Without humans, the foundations cracked. Meanwhile, on Earth, the people did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They did not feel proud of the chaos spreading across the stars. They simply watched in sorrow as they carried Leora Hale's body through the honor chambers of the United Earth Assembly. The girl's parents stood at the center of the hall, holding each other tightly, tears running down their faces. Ambassador Hart stood beside them. His eyes were red, but he stayed strong, because he knew Leora would not want him to fall apart. The highest human leaders walked slowly down the long path made of glowing crystal tiles. The air felt heavy, as if the entire planet was grieving together. Chairwoman Mira Chen, head of the Earth Council, spoke in a quiet voice that carried through the hall without force. Leora Hale died speaking the truth. She died believing the galaxy deserved honesty, fairness, and peace. Her voice trembled slightly before she continued. The council that promised protection betrayed her. They took a young human life in the place where truth should be sacred. The hall was silent. Protocol Horizon has been activated, she said, and Earth will not return to the council until justice is real. We will not raise our voice in anger. We will let our silence show them who we are. Later that night, the footage of Leora's speech, along with proof of the Dominion's corruption, began spreading through the human intranet. People in every city watched the moment she stood up in front of the entire galaxy with confidence and courage. They watched her refuse to back down. They watched her fall. Some cried. Some clenched their fists. Some sat frozen. But all of them felt the same thought rise within them. She deserved better. When Earth finally shared the unedited video to the open galaxy networks, the reaction was overwhelming. Screens across thousands of worlds displayed Leora's face, her calm voice, her bravery. Her final moment, many non-human species were shocked. They had seen the Dominion intimidate others, but killing a human diplomat, especially a child, crossed a line that no one could defend. Protests erupted. Not violent protests, but peaceful ones. Citizens of other species marched with glowing lights, holding signs that said, "Truth should not die and justice for Leora." The Dominion tried shutting down these demonstrations, but the images spread so fast they could not contain them. Still, Earth said nothing. On the human moon base, inside the Defense Observation Center, analysts watched the galaxy change. Many were young, almost Leora's age. They felt the weight of their responsibility as they monitored data streams showing the Council's growing instability. One of the senior analysts, a quiet man named Cade Rios, looked at the maps of failing trade routes and flickering communication sectors. "The galaxy is unraveling," he said softly, "but we are not attacking them." Another analyst nodded. "We don't need to. Our silence is enough." On other worlds, species began asking the same fearful question. What was Earth planning? Rumors flew across space. Some said Earth was developing a weapon. Others said humans were preparing to form their own empire. Some whispered that humans were going to abandon the galaxy entirely. None of them knew the truth. Earth was planning something far greater than revenge. In the center of the human strategic core, hundreds of experts stood around a glowing blue table. Above the table floated a holographic model of the galaxy, with Earth at the center and thousands of faint lines stretching outward like threads of light. Each line represented a connection, technology, trade, communication, education, cultural exchange. All of them had been broken by Earth's silence. Chairwoman Myra Chen placed her hand on the table. The hologram shifted, showing new, projected paths. Human engineers, diplomats, philosophers, and scientists had been working non-stop to design a new plan Operation Dawn Shield. It was not a weapon. It was not an army. It was a system of peaceful influence, a strategy to protect and uplift civilizations without firing a single shot. It was everything Leora would have wanted the galaxy to become. Earth was preparing to change the galaxy, forever. Meanwhile, on the council station, panic grew. Valera called another emergency session, but fewer representatives arrived. Some were too afraid to travel without human stabilizers. Others no longer trusted the Dominion. Many worlds had begun breaking ties quietly, hoping Earth would open communication with them instead. Valer's voice cracked with frustration. Humans cannot cut themselves from the Council. We rule the galaxy, not them. But his words sounded weaker now, less believable. A representative from the small Lumori species spoke carefully. Chancellor, if Earth chooses not to speak, then perhaps we must ask why. Valer slammed his hand on the council podium. Because they are mourning a child. And because you killed her, the Lumori representative replied softly. The room grew tense. For the first time in decades, Valor felt something unfamiliar wash through him. Not anger. Not authority. Something much colder. Fear. He stepped back from the podium, his long robe trembling. They cannot end us, he whispered, almost as if trying to convince himself. But deep inside, he felt the truth. They can. And they will. Earth did not need war. Earth needed only silence, a silence heavy enough to break an empire. That night, across the galaxy, the stars seemed a little quieter. Ships drifted slower. Communication lines flickered. People whispered to each other in fear. Humans, meanwhile, watched the sky with calm determination. Earth did not want revenge. Earth wanted change, and the galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans stopped talking and started acting. Across the dark stretch of space surrounding Earth, thousands of small lights began to appear. They were not weapons. They were not warships. They were the first quiet movements of Operation Dawn Shield, the plan Earth had activated in response to Leora Hale's death. Every human working on the operation knew one thing clearly. This mission was not about destroying the Council. It was about making sure no corrupt power could ever harm innocent people again. In a quiet control room. Inside Earth's Unity Tower, dozens of specialists monitored the slow deployment of the Dawn Shield fleets. They were sleek ships, smaller than battle cruisers, built for travel, communication, and support. Their hulls reflected starlight like polished silver, and they moved with the smoothness of a thought. General Soren Lee stood at the center of the operations floor, watching as the ship markers spread across the star map. He was not a loud man. His calm voice held more strength than shouting ever could. Phase 1 is stable, he said. Begin Phase 2. Around him, operators pressed glowing keys, and the screen changed again. Now, lines of light stretched from the Dawn Shield ships to dozens of worlds that had suffered under the Council's restrictions for years. One of the young analysts asked softly, Do you think they will accept our help? They already have, General Soren replied. They were just waiting for someone brave enough to offer it. On the far side of the galaxy, the planet Miriath spun slowly, covered in blue forests and shining lakes. It was beautiful, but its people lived under heavy council pressure. The planet had rich mineral resources, and the Dominion forced them to sell at unfair prices. Their economy was always struggling. Their freedom was always limited. Now, a Dawn Shield ship appeared in their sky. The people thought it was a warship at first. They hid. They waited. But instead of soldiers, humans sent a peaceful message into the air. We are here to help. No cost, no conditions, no control. The Marian leaders hesitated, unsure. Earth had been silent for weeks. Why come here now? But when the humans landed, they brought advanced medical supplies, free energy modules, learning devices, and clean water systems. They trained local engineers, taught new farming techniques, and repaired broken infrastructure caused by years of overtaxation. Children gathered around the human workers, touching the strange, glowing tools the humans used. The humans smiled, lifting the tools so the children could see better. Within a week, the entire planet understood what Earth was doing. They were not conquering, they were uplifting. Word spread fast. Other Dawn Shield ships arrived on more worlds, helping in the same peaceful way. In quiet villages, old machines powered by human tech were restored. In crowded cities, human doctors trained local medical teams in new treatments. On isolated moons, human farmers taught soil renewal techniques. No one had seen anything like this before. For years, the Council had used fear and control. Humans now used kindness and progress. Meanwhile, in the Council's Grand Chamber, High Chancellor Vaylor faced growing panic. He stood in front of the Council members, his robe glowing faintly, but the usual confidence in his eyes was gone. "You must understand," he said slowly. "Earth is using their charity as a weapon." "Charity?" the Taurian representative asked. "They are helping my people rebuild our farms." "What weapon is that?" Valor gritted his teeth. "They are building loyalty, influence, a network that will make us irrelevant." "For the first time in decades," said the Endurian elder softly. "What is helping the galaxy without asking for anything? Maybe irrelevance is what we deserve." The hall erupted in uneasy whispers. Representatives turned to each other, discussing Earth's actions. Some were impressed. Some were confused. Many were hopeful. Vaylor saw the danger. The Council had always kept its power through fear and control. But Earth was now using hope. Hope was stronger. Hope spread faster. "We cannot allow them to continue," Vaylor snapped. "We must block their ships, detain their teams, arrest their diplomats." But the other representatives did not agree. "They are not attacking anyone," one said. "They are only helping another." "Said you killed one of their children," a third whispered. "And they answer this way?" Vaylor's grip on authority weakened with every word. Back on Earth, the scientists of the Quantum Communications Lab activated another part of Operation Dawn Shield. A new network emerged, one that did not rely on Council channels. This network allowed free communication between species unaffected by Dominion spying. It spread across the galaxy like a wave of clean light. Within days, messages from hundreds of worlds started flowing through it. They healed our sick. They repaired our climate system. They taught our children. Earth listened to us. For the first time, species across the galaxy spoke to each other freely. Without Council limits, Chairwoman Mira Chen watched these messages on a large display screen. "Leora should have been here to see this," she said softly. Ambassador Hart stood beside her. His face still carried the sadness that never left after Leora's death. "She believed the galaxy could be fair," he said. "She believed truth could fix things. And so it is," Mira replied quietly. Because of her, their conversation paused when a notification flashed across the screen. It showed dozens of planets formally requesting cooperation with Earth, not joining. Earth not submitting to Earth-just cooperation, equality, respect. Hart felt tears in his eyes. She wanted peace. She wanted fairness. And the galaxy is moving toward it now. The next day, the Unity broadcast was prepared. It would be transmitted through the new network, reaching billions across the galaxy. Its content was simple. Leora Hale's speech, unedited, followed by all the evidence she had tried to show before she was killed. When the broadcast began, worlds stopped to watch. People gathered in large halls, in city squares, in homes, and in ships. Leora appeared on their screens, standing on the Council platform. Her young face calm and determined, her voice was steady as she spoke about Dominion corruption. She showed the evidence. She asked for justice. She refused to be silent. Then they watched her fall. The galaxies that once bowed to thee. Dominion felt a sharp pain watching the moment. Some cried. Some grew angry. Some whispered her name like a prayer. And many began to question everything the council had told them. After the broadcast ended, people across hundreds of worlds began marching peacefully, holding lights or glowing symbols, chanting Leora's name. They did not want war. They wanted truth. They wanted a galaxy where no child would be killed for speaking it. Ambassador Hart watched the waves of support. He felt grief, but also pride. Leora had changed the galaxy more in her short life than the Council had in a century, while the galaxy shifted toward Earth. The Dominion's grip crumbled even faster. On the Vale homeworld, the citizens gathered in anger outside the Dominion Palace. They had grown tired of living under a government that brought instability. They demanded answers. They demanded reforms. Some demanded Valer's resignation. Valer stared at the crowds through tall glass windows. We must crush this rebellion, he told his advisors. But his advisors were silent. Even they were beginning to doubt him. On the opposite side of the galaxy, a Dawnshield ship hovered above a small mining colony that had once been forced to send minerals to the Dominion at unfair prices. Humans taught the miners how to use new tools, how to run their equipment efficiently, and how to store emergency power without council permits. One miner, a young man named Kiru, approached the human commander. "Why are you helping us?" he asked. The commander smiled lightly. "Because someone must, but you gain nothing." "Maybe not," the commander said. "But doing the right thing is worth more than gain." Kiru looked at the human ships glowing in the sky and understood why the galaxy was changing. Meanwhile, High Chancellor Valair called a secret meeting with his senior military leaders. He slammed his fist on the table. "Earth is tearing down our authority. We must respond." "Respond how?" one officer whispered. "They are not attacking us. If we attack them, we will look like monsters." "We already do," another muttered. Valer's anger rose. "If we do nothing, we lose everything." But something deep inside him already knew the truth. He was losing everything anyway. Earth did not need fleets. Earth did not need threats. Earth did not need weapons. Earth used compassion, clarity, intelligence, unity, and the galaxy chose Earth. Operation Dawnshield continued spreading. On some worlds, the people raised banners with a simple blue Starburst Leora symbol. On others, children painted her image on walls, calling her the girl who spoke truth to the galaxy, as species that once distrusted each other began cooperating through Earth's new network. Human mediators helped them settle old disputes. Human engineers helped them rebuild their economies. Human teachers helped them build stronger societies, bit by bit. The galaxy was becoming something new, not ruled, not forced, not controlled, connected. As the Dawnshield fleets traveled, one thing became clear: the Galactic Council's power was fading. Not because Earth attacked them, but because Earth replaced what the Council had failed to give hope. In the quiet of the Unity Tower, Mira Chen looked at the map of glowing worlds turning toward Earth. "The galaxy is waking up," she said. Ambassador Hart nodded, and soon the Council will have nothing left to rule. Operation Dawnshield was only halfway finished, but the galaxy had already begun to change forever. The fleet moved through the burned remains of the Council's outer systems, and every soldier on board felt the same heavy pressure in their chest. The war was no longer about battles or territory. It had become something deeper, something colder, something final. Earth did not want negotiations, surrender, or treaties. Earth wanted the Council to end. Forever. Captain Mira Hale stood in the command center of the flagship Horizon Spear. Her eyes watched the holographic display showing the last line of defense between humanity and the Council's core world. The image was filled with bright red marks representing thousands of enemy ships. They looked like a solid wall of metal and fire. Behind her, Commander Rian spoke in a low voice. He had been quiet since the last battle. when 2 human cruisers were destroyed by self-destructing enemy ships. "They are ready for death," Rian said. "They know we won't stop, so they have decided to go down fighting." Mira's jaw tightened. Let them. She remembered the innocent face of the girl who had started all this without knowing. Lyra Thompson, a 14-year-old human exchange student. She had gone for a study visit to the Council's capital world. She had worn a bright blue jacket and carried a notebook full of drawings. She had believed in peace, cooperation, and unity. But the Council had killed her. They had called her a dangerous unknown species. They had executed her publicly to show dominance. It had taken less than 1 hour for the video to reach Earth, and only minutes for the world to explode in rage. The Council had expected anger. Maybe protests. Maybe sanctions. They had not expected humanity to become a storm. The horizon. Spears slowed as the fleet reached the range of enemy weapons. The bridge lights switched to a deeper red, signaling battle readiness. Mira raised her hand. Broadcast to all ships. A soft beep confirmed the connection. "This is Captain Myra Hale," she said. Her voice steady but filled with iron. "Today we destroy the last shield between us and the core world. There will be no mercy. There will be no hesitation. For Lyra? For every human they threatened? For our right to exist?" Her words spread across the fleet. Soldiers tightened their armor straps. Pilots gripped their controls. Engineers stood ready at their stations. They all waited for the order. Mira lowered her hand. "Begin the attack." The fleet surged forward like a spear thrust through darkness. The battle exploded instantly. Thousands of enemy ships fired at once. Streams of plasma and shards of charged metal filled the void. Human shields lit up under the storm of energy. Shining bright white for a moment, the Horizon Spear fired its heavy cannons. Blue beams shot across the darkness and carved through 3 enemy cruisers, turning them into silent clouds of dust. Smaller human fighters dived through the explosions, unleashing missiles that tracked down enemy frigates and destroyed them in bright flashes. "Commander," Rian leaned over the tactical table. "The enemy is concentrating fire on our left line. The Solaris wing is taking heavy damage." "Shift the Thunder Squads to support," Mira said, "and push the central formation forward." The fleet moved like a living creature, adapting in seconds. But the Council forces were fighting harder than ever. They seemed desperate, almost frantic, as if they knew this was their last chance to stop humanity. In one corner of the battle, 3 Council destroyers linked their energy cores and prepared to self-destruct near the human transports. Myra's eyes widened as she noticed the spike on the battle map. "Move the transports back," she shouted now. The Vice Admiral on one of the transports reacted instantly. Engines flared bright, pulling the large ships away. The enemy destroyers exploded in a massive wave of white fire. The transports shook violently but survived. Rian wiped sweat from his forehead. "They will kill themselves just to stop us." "They are not fighting for victory," Mira said. "They are fighting for time." She saw it now. The enemy ships were not forming defensive lines. They were not guarding strategic positions. They were simply trying to slow humanity's advance no matter the cost. But time was something Earth was no longer willing to give. A sudden alarm echoed through the bridge. A massive Council dreadnought peered from hyperspace directly above the Horizon Spear. Its hull was dark purple with streaks of silver, a mark of the Council's elite warrior species. Rian stared in disbelief. "The Leviathan class. That ship is big enough to be a small moon." The dreadnought turned slowly, pointing its massive cannon toward the Horizon Spear. Mira reacted instantly. "All power to shields." The enemy ship fired. A beam of red energy thick as a river cut through space and slammed into the Horizon Spear's shields. The entire ship shook. People stumbled. Consoles sparked. The lights flickered. Shields down to 60%. A technician shouted. Mira gave new orders without hesitation. "Charge the Omega Lance." Rian looked at her sharply. "That will overload our forward generators. Don't have another choice." The Omega Lance was humanity's newest weapon, created only after the war had begun. It was a weapon built not just for battle, but for vengeance. The forward cannons began to glow bright white. Gathering energy, the dreadnought fired again. Another explosion of red energy hit the Horizon's spear, pushing the ship backward. Several officers fell to the ground as alarms screamed. 40% shields. Keep charging, Mira shouted. A third blast came. This one broke through the shields partially, sending a shockwave racing through the ship. Panels blew open. Smoke filled the air. Rian grabbed onto a railing. Lance charged. 40 seconds until full synchronization. The dreadnought aimed again. Mira clenched her fists. She could almost feel Lyra's presence beside her. The girl had never wanted a war, but she deserved justice. Humanity deserved safety. Fire the Omega Lance, Mira commanded. The front of the Horizon spear unleashed a brilliant white beam. It was not thick, but it was impossibly bright. Like a line of pure burning light stretching across space, the beam cut through the dreadnought's cannon first, slicing it cleanly off. Then it hit the center of the massive ship. A second later, the dreadnought split apart, its hull glowing from within before bursting into fragments. A huge cheer erupted across the bridge, but Myra was not done. Push forward, she said. Break their line. The destruction of the dreadnought shattered the enemy's morale. Their ships began to fall back, losing formation. Human forces surged into the gap, striking hard. In only 20 minutes, the Council's last defensive fleet crumbled. Ships exploded one after another. Some fled, some surrendered. Some simply turned off their weapons and waited for the end. By the time the battle ended, the space around them was filled with debris and drifting engines. The last obstacle had fallen. The Horizon spear slowed to a steady path. The fleet followed behind. The navigation officer pointed to the hologram, showing a blue-white world glowing in the center of the map. That is their core world, he said in a quiet voice. The heart of their empire, Rian exhaled slowly. After this, there is no turning back. There was no turning back the moment they killed her, Mira said. The fleet moved closer to the enemy world. Defense satellites activated, but they were no threat. Human ships destroyed them in seconds. The sky around the Council homeworld was filled with fire, but something unexpected happened. A message came through. Captain, Comm's officer said. The Council Supreme Leader is requesting a direct communication. He says it is urgent. Mira felt the air grow colder. Put him through. The hologram changed to show the Supreme Leader of the Council. His face was stern, his eyes filled with fear hidden behind forced pride. Humans, he said, we offer surrender. Full, unconditional surrender. We will give you compensation. We will sign any treaty. Please stop your advance. Myra looked at the man who had allowed Lyra's execution, the man who had defended it, the man who had said, humans must learn their place. Now he was begging. Rian stepped forward. We could accept. This would end millions of deaths. Mira closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of Earth, of people watching the war from home. She thought of the fear in their hearts before the war began, feared that the Council would target humanity next. She thought of Lyra, who had been killed simply because she was human. She opened her eyes. She spoke slowly. No. What? You had your chance, Mira said. You could have chosen peace when she begged you to understand her. You chose cruelty instead. He tried to speak again, but the transmission cut off. The fleet received its final order. The Horizon. Spear's engines pulsed as the ship descended toward the Council homeworld. The sky darkened. The enemy's empire, which had ruled half the galaxy for centuries, trembled under the shadow of humanity. Earth had come not for revenge, but for an ending, and now the ending had begun. The Horizon spear entered the upper atmosphere of the Council, homeworld with the rest of the human fleet behind it, and the sky turned dark with smoke and fire. The capital city below looked like a shining circle of towers, wide energy bridges, and glowing blue domes. It had once been the proud center of an empire that ruled hundreds of worlds. Now it looked small and fragile under the shadow of Earth's warships. Captain Mira Hale stood on the bridge, watching the world grow larger in the display. Her heart was steady, but not cold. She did not feel joy or satisfaction or celebration. She felt only duty. This was not a victory. This was something heavier, something final below her feet. The engines hummed as the fleet positioned itself in a wide formation that covered the entire capital region. Human soldiers prepared their weapons, checked their suits, and waited for the command that would finish the war. Commander Rian stepped beside her. He had been silent for the last hour, as if unsure whether to speak or not. Finally, he said, "Once we destroy their government, the war ends. No more enemies. No more attacks." Mira nodded slightly. "Yes, but after that, what becomes of us?" Mira did not answer. She was not thinking about the future. She was thinking about the girl who had changed everything without ever trying. Lyra Thompson, the girl who had believed the council would welcome her, the girl who had been executed as a message to Earth, the girl whose last expression had been fear and confusion. Mira tightened her fist. "We finish this," she said, "and then we rebuild." The fleet received the final authorization from Earth Command. Their voices came through the speakers, calm and firm. Humanity moves together. The council falls today. The order was clear. The Horizon Spear descended toward the Capitol building, a massive circular structure with 4 tall spires. Enemy anti-air cannons fired, sending bright streams of plasma into the sky. But the human ships countered with precise beams that cut through the defenses one by one. The human ground units launched next. Thousands of drop pods shot down from the fleet like silver sparks. When they hit the surface, the pods opened, and soldiers stepped out with rifles glowing blue. Tanks followed, rolling through the broken streets. Drones flew ahead, scanning for hidden enemies. The city shook as explosions echoed through the air. Council soldiers tried to hold the main roads, but they were outmatched. Human technology had advanced fast during the war. Their weapons were stronger, faster, and more adaptive. Their armor could take hits that once would have killed instantly. Mira and Rian landed with the first command group. As they stepped out of their pod, they saw destroyed council vehicles burning on the streets. Many buildings were damaged. Civilians, non-combatants hid inside shelters, afraid to even look outside. Mira gave strict orders to her battalion. "No harm to civilians. They are not our target. Move forward." Human soldiers marched down the wide central avenue, pushing toward the Capitol building. The council military tried to regroup around the main square, but the humans moved with intense discipline. Every movement was controlled. Every shot was precise. Then something unexpected happened. A group of council diplomats, wearing long silver robes, ran out of a nearby building holding a white flag. They were frightened, desperate. Humans. One of them shouted, his voice cracking. "Please stop. We surrender. Our leader surrenders. Please, we will negotiate." Mira did not slow down. Rian looked at her with concern. "They're surrendering. We could end this now." Mira did not look at him. They surrendered after killing her, after threatening Earth, after the war started. Now, their words mean nothing. The diplomats fell to their knees, begging. They were pushed aside gently by human soldiers who did not harm them, but did not listen either. The mission was clear. The Empire had to end. The closer they got to the central building, the stronger the resistance became. Elite council guards fired from the rooftops. Human soldiers used energy shields to cover their advance. Tanks fired rounds that shook the ground. Drones targeted snipers with high-precision blasts. Suddenly, a huge council war mech stepped out onto the road. Its metal body was taller than a building, glowing with red lights. It fired a massive energy beam that forced the humans to scatter. Mira shouted, "Heavy units forward!" 3 human anti-mech teams ran out, carrying large launchers on their shoulders. The mech turned toward them and opened fire again. 2 soldiers were thrown backward by the blast. The 3rd soldier held steady and launched his weapon. The missile hit the mech in the chest. The explosion tore the metal apart. The huge machine shook violently, then collapsed onto the street in a cloud of smoke. The path was clear again. Mira and her team reached the steps of the Capitol building. Council guards stood in formation, blocking the entrance. They gripped their weapons tightly, their eyes filled with fear, but also determination. One guard stepped forward. His voice was trembling. "Please. We were following orders." Mira looked at him calmly. "Move." The guard hesitated. Then he dropped his weapon and stepped aside. The others followed. One by one, they laid down their arms. They were soldiers, but they no longer believed in the empire they served. Inside the building, the air was thick with smoke and dust. Mira led the team through the halls, past large statues of former council leaders. Some statues had cracks from the shaking ground. Others had fallen completely. They reached the central chamber, a huge circular room with a high ceiling. At the center stood the supreme leader, the same man who had executed Lyra publicly. He stood with two guards beside him, though neither looked willing to fight. The supreme leader swallowed hard. His voice shook as he spoke. "Human, Captain, we surrender. I beg you. Spare our world. Spare our people." Mira stared at him for a long moment. Then she said, "You killed a child." He lowered his head, unable to respond. "You killed her to show your power," Mira continued. "You killed her because you feared us. And now you ask for mercy?" The supreme leader's lips trembled. "Please, I made a mistake. I did not know the strength of your species." "We only know," Myra said sharply. "You knew exactly what you were doing." He fell silent. Rian whispered Mira. "We have him. We can bring him to trial. We don't have to destroy everything." Mira looked at the supreme leader again. His hands were shaking, his legs weak. He looked like a man who had spent his entire life believing himself the highest authority in the galaxy. Now he looked small, scared, and hollow. "This empire hurt us," Mira said. "It threatened our people. It executed a child. It tried to break Earth." She stepped closer. "But Earth cannot be broken." The supreme leader's voice cracked. Will you kill me?" Mira shook her head. "No, you don't deserve that." He looked confused. "You will face justice," Myra said. "Real justice. Human justice." Two soldiers stepped forward and secured him. He did not resist. With the leader captured, the Council's command system collapsed. Human ships landed all across the planet, taking control of key locations. Resistance ended rapidly. People surrendered. Weapons were dropped. The empire that had lasted for centuries fell in a single day. When the sun rose the next morning, the Council homeworld was under full human control. Mira walked out onto the balcony of the Capitol building. The air was quiet now. The smoke had settled. The battle was over. The horizon was filled with the silver shapes of Earth's ships floating calmly in the sky. Rian stepped beside her. "It's done." Mira looked at the rising sun. It felt strange. The victory felt heavy, not bright. She imagined Lyra standing there, smiling, drawing something in her notebook. "Maybe she would have drawn this sunrise," Mira whispered. "The empire is gone." Rian nodded. "Because of us?" "No," Mira said softly. "Because of her. She was the beginning." The war had changed the galaxy forever. Earth had proven its strength and unity. Humanity was no longer a young species trying to survive. It was now a force that no one would ever dare to harm again. Mira closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warm wind touch her face. Then she turned toward her soldiers. "Prepare the message to Earth," she said. "Tell them it's over. It's on far away, on a small blue planet." Billions of people would hear her words. They would remember the girl who died unjustly. They would remember the war that followed. And they would know that humanity had stood together and ended an empire. The galaxy would never forget it. Earth had not stopped at revenge. Earth had ended them.